Every YouTuber on the planet says the same thing.
Storytelling techniques.
When you understand
storytelling.
But what if they're all wrong? Here's the thing, storytelling is essential to create great video. But what's broken is the framework they are telling you to use. Old rigid structures like the 3-act structure, the hero's journey might give you great foundation, but they are lacking the flexibility that video creation really needs. While on the other hand, today's best content creators go above and beyond those basics models. They use subtle variation and fresh approach that make all the difference. So let's fix your storytelling, and by the end of this video, you'll have a formula to make each video engaging and exciting. And to do that, we are going to come back on the 10 storytelling structures that I have talked in my last video and smash them together into a brand new, highly flexible and highly adaptable framework that you can use in all of your videos. So let's start this process with our whole body, the 3-act structure. So see, this is basic. You have the 3 steps, the act 1, 2, and 3, setup, confrontation, resolution. And so we have the next framework that we have talked about, which is a Freytag pyramid. Where you see the main difference that lies between those two is the fact that the climax is roughly in the middle. You have a much more balanced story where you spend almost as much time on the rising action that you spend on the falling action. At least this is the way I understand it. So we are going to smash them together into one. And what I think about it is mainly is the fact that, okay, the climax is not at the set point in the video. It can be later in the video, in the middle, or even in the beginning. Maybe we can do the climax much earlier, having the rising action that peak very early in the video, and then just delivering the payoff. Because we had to split it in 4 phases instead of 3. When I think for us as content creators, this is mainly after the confrontation where we establish why this is important, why they should care, and so on. We are then delivering during the falling action the payoff, the true value of the video. I believe this is that, and then you have the resolution, which is basically the outro, the end of your video. As we can see, also the falling action either is going to drop down quicker or slower. Mainly this is the tension in the video, how engaged people are. And so next, now that we have this foundation, we have smashed those two together, we have this other framework. This one, the subtle thing here is actually, you know what? The setup, the introduction might not be useful. We can jump straight into the rising action and start delivering our content. You know what? That's not that bad, maybe. And so that's about it. That's mainly you can or you don't have to, depending on your video, you may feel the need of just not making any intro at all. Just dive right into the content, you make your hook and dive deep into the stakes, the confrontation and so on. That's an option, and I believe that's a good way to think about it. So we're moving on, adding one little thing at a time and having our framework that is taking place progressively. Then the Fishstein curve, I don't know how to say it, but anyway, this one is mainly the same as the one we just seen. The idea that this framework is presenting is just that the rising action is mainly a succession of crises, of fast tension, where the problem is worsening. This doesn't add a lot of things to our framework, just let's state clearly, okay, the rising action is a series of crises, rising stakes, and where at the beginning, the inciting incident, which pushes the character into moving forward, into taking action, which mainly, if you are not making the setup, this is just the hook that you're starting. You start with the hook, and then you dive deep into the first crisis, the first point of your video. So here we have it. Honestly, I like the way it looks. It's already adaptable, it depends, but I have more to go. I have a lot more things to add to this. Next, we have the episodic structure. So here, this is mainly the idea that you can use the storytelling structure just for one video or multiple videos at a time. The framework that we have here, you can think of it as like if you were planning 10 videos in a row. You can have the first few videos being your introduction setup, or you can get rid of that and just dive deep directly into the confrontation. And so you have a series of videos, and you are planning a series of videos based on this structure. And each of those videos have their own structure mainly depending on where they are in the process. And that's something I think we still need to dive deep, depending on where you're in the overarching storytelling structure, what is the best structure for each of those videos. That's something I haven't the answers yet, but I'm going to be looking for it. Next, we have the 7-point structure. This one is very interesting because the way I think about it is allow you to think about the rising action as a succession of high point and low point, where you are delivering both solution that make people aware of problem or potential issues that they are still need to solve, and then continuing on, okay, we have that, but then this is how we fix that, but when we fix that, we will face that, and so we need to do that in order to fix that. You see, the flow makes the video much more interesting than, okay, we have this many issues, so generally speaking, you need to do this, and this, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and you get there. That's a little bit more boring, where if you use up and down in your story, in your script, during the rising action, this, I believe, makes the video much more interesting. I don't believe there is much that we can add into the framework, but we can add it on the side as bullet point for just reminder, where the plot point 1 start as an incident. So you can either make your intro or not, as we said earlier, and then dive deep into this. This is a call to action. What push people to move? What is the key point, key event that force people to take action? Then you have the first obstacle, the midpoint, turning, and finally the plot point 2, which is going to be where the lowest low is going to meet the climax. So you have your pinch point 2, which is your lowest low, and then it's transition to the plot point 2, which is the final push toward the climax. So yeah, just having this on the side as a reminder for the way we make videos. Then this is a non-linear structure. So this one, same. That's too complex to just add and try to displacing into our framework. But what we can do is just have a reminder, a bullet point. So to not hesitate to use flashback, flash forward, or parallel timelines when we are talking, when we are explaining. Don't hesitate to just tell a story of what happened to you at some point during the day, or something that is relevant to you to explain the subject you are trying to explain. The story that happened to you that can introduce, give more context. That I believe it's a nice reminder to have. Moving on with the next structure, which was the nested frame and narrative. So this one was mainly about writing story inside the story. That's just too complex to add to the main framework we have. Let's just add to the be more interesting checklist. So adding subplots, sub-stories, tangent. Because the subplot are not necessarily, you can just go watch my last video to know that, but the subplot are not necessarily linked to the video, to the subject. This can be something completely different. Like all those short or TikTok you're seeing, where you have the main story, someone that is doing something, saying something about something, and then on the side you have some satisfying stuff happening that are absolutely not linked to the things that the person is saying. That's somewhat of a subplot, but yeah, that's strange, but that's working. If not, people will not be using it, so it's working. Also, that's at that point that I was starting thinking deeply about the framework and the way to think about it, and I realized that I forgot to just add those axes, because when we see all those framework, we may not understand why it goes high, low. This is the tension, mainly the tension that is happening during the video. So we start with a baseline tension, people are just relaxed, they don't have any expectation. And then with the rising action, the tension is rising. And that's also the main point is with the falling action. Either you are going to have a rapid drop in the tension or a slow and smooth drop. Or even not dropping at all. Maybe you just reach the climax and delivering, keeping the tension high all the way until the end of the video. For instance, I think that for educational content, that might be an idea. And now let's talk about how other old body, the hero's journey. So that's a little bit complex, but what I wanted to do here is just show you where this lies. Because for content creators that are mainly about educators, the hero's journey will not, you will not use it that much. But that's still interesting to know what's going on, and you can use it sometimes to tell a story about yourself, something that happened to you, happened to someone, or even just to know it. Because as I said, when you're using subplot or sub-stories or tangent, when you are talking a story, you can use this structure of having your hero's journey inside your overall structure. And so that's a good framework to still have on the back when we need it. And so the way it works, it's like this. And here we see clearly why we have this axe where the climax is changing from one timeline to another. And this is at that point that I realize something very important. The more entertaining you want to be, the more right, the later you need the climax to be. And then on the education part, you need the climax to be a lot earlier. Let me explain. The idea is simple. For entertaining people in stories, you want to retain information as long as possible, to keep people engaged, to build up the tension, not resolving it, not knowing what is going to happen until the end, until you reach the climax where things are resolved and then you have the falling action. While on the education side, this is quite different, because I don't know for you, but I really get annoyed where I spend 15 minutes listening to someone and just realize they have not told me anything interesting at all. And this is the issue. If you try to push the climax all the way until the end with your educational content, this is very annoying for your viewers. And my guess is more, you want to reach the climax between maybe the 3 to 5 minute stage of your video to really build up the tension, the context of why they should care, what is at stake for them to understand. And then if they reach the 3 to 5 minute marks, they will likely stay until the end. Because you see those videos that are 1 hour, 10 hours long, which are very educational, which you cannot have a storytelling that is that long, especially with informational content. So that's really that. The key here is just to get people engaged at the beginning of the video, make them care about the subject. And once they care, then you can deliver the information, the payoff. And you can go on and on and on for a very long time, because people that are interested, that want to watch, and if you did a great job with the rising action and the climax, they will want to watch, then you can cheer. You don't have to retain information. You can just go ahead and say it and explain it and deliver. People will actually like you for that. And if you are afraid that they will drop off, a strategy that I keep thinking about is over-delivering. You finish explaining the things that people wanted when they came into the video, but you introduce something new to actually, even if they reach the first climax, you bring them to another climax, to another, and to another. You can do that. That can work. Why not? If you want to keep them engaged. Anyway, so that's when I have laid out the different steps. I saw that the steps of the hero's journey are very compressed when you have the climax in the middle. That's why I realized, since the hero's journey is not really meant for educational content, it's much more meant for telling stories that are entertaining and interesting overall, but real stories, something that happened, a transformation, a journey. And that's where I realized, okay, that's the key point here. Anyway, so you have this. I think we can move on. And I wanted to leave that for the last. This is the most important one. The 4-part structure. which mainly you have the introduction, the development, and the conclusion. That mainly everything we already have. But what's really interesting here is the twist. The idea of the twist is as the following action occur, as things are slowly going towards the end, you reactivate the interest and attention of the viewer with a twist, with something unexpected, surprising. So for the twist, what I like to think about is don't just fall, twist. Because this, we are going to dive deep into the next video about that, because this is, as you can see, this occurred just after the payoff in the transition toward the call to action. So mainly the resolution, the act, the last part of your video is mainly about the call to action, and the twist is the way to transition toward your call to action. And this will go deep into the next video. I just want to finish this one because we have last thing we need to talk about before moving on. I found this process to actually build your story because, okay, you have, this is a massive framework. It's highly adaptable. It's somewhat new because it's merging everything into one single framework. But okay, where do we start? How do you build your story? And this is what I found. I don't remember where I found it, but I think it's really good because we have a clear now step by step where we start by the end, the resolution, then we move forward with the hook. That's mainly linked to the 7-point storytelling structure that we had earlier. But now let's adapt this to our framework. So the script building process is now this. You start by the end, the payoff and call to action, mainly what you want to talk about and what is going to be your call to action. I don't want to spoil you with what is going in my next video because we are going to really nail this down. But so just keep that in mind, the call to action and the payoff. And also, yeah, I have insane framework about ID generation that perfectly, absolutely perfectly fits that. So I'm so stoked and I'm so excited to about what's coming, but stay tuned. Anyway, so we start with the end, then the beginning, the hook and intro. Now that we know the end, we start with the beginning, and then we progressively merge things together. I just wanted to introduce that, but don't worry, we will dive deep into those things later on. Don't worry. So, that's a lot! Yeah, I wanted to introduce this part of the video because I'm doing a video series where I walk you through each and every step to create great videos. But if you are following this video series, you know this is much more for the people that are new to this channel that I wanted to say that. And the fact that now I'm starting to have more and more curated videos, having a script for my whole video, having things very laid out. I don't have much space to ramble or just tell you about the behind the scene of making the video, because this video series was mainly about that. It was, I wanted to make each video slightly better and explain to you what I did in each of those videos. And I realized over the last few videos, because of the fact that I was making my video better and better, I didn't have time or space to do that anymore. And so that's why from now on, I'm going to have this chill out section of my video at the end of the video. That's not the best thing to do. I don't recommend you do that because probably everybody that are not familiar with this video series are just going to drop off. But I want to help you be the best YouTuber you can. So, and I believe having this section here is going to help you doing just that. And because this video is already way too long, I'm not going to go in detail about what I did in this video because I started testing stuff that are coming out later, but we'll dive deep into it, I promise, in the future. So coming next, as I said, we are going to talk about the end, the call to action, mainly the outro, how to finish a video. So thanks you for watching and go watch the next video.